They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
Come on, and for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Corruption is not just an aberration or a nuisance. It is a systematic feature that constitutes an impediment to economic development. Corruption must therefore be eliminated or reduced to the barest minimum if Nigeria must be placed on the path of sustainable development. ICPC has always tried to live up to its vision of a Nigeria free from all forms of corruption through the deployment of lawful enforcement and preventive initiatives without disrespect for citizens' rights. ICPC, as a prosecuting agency, can only take a suspect to court after it has established a prima facie case following a meticulous investigation. It is not empowered to clamp suspects into jail arbitrarily. Welcome to Corruption Must Go. I am Ruth Awodi. Today on the program, we shall take a look at a few of the hundreds of cases initiated in various courts across the country by ICPC, otherwise referred to as arraignment, for which the accused persons have made their first appearances in court. We also have a bit of character building, drama, and our ethics and values spice. Stay with us. This is Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. Murna Barnabas Atiaye brings us details of some of these arraignments.
Corruption not in my country.
What's your name?
Onosode Omorife. May you check your own list, cause the list where they outside. Onosode on your name never do.
Your name is Onoriode. You even went as a fashion designer.
As you don't come back, so now I won't go as Akpobori Ovi, and Ovi won't go as pilots.
That is impersonation.
My own share for the national cake be that.
Mr. Onosode.
Akpobori.
The Amnesty Program is an intervention project for sustainable economic development of the Niger Delta, which you are a beneficiary of, lying under pretext for your selfish gain and advantage is robbing others of the same opportunity, and that is an act of corruption, not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome to this segment. I am Murna Barnabas Atiaye. The immediate past governor of Kebbi State, Alhaji Saidu Usman Nasamu Dakingeri, was docked before Honorable Justice Ismail Haruna Bashir of Kebbi State High Court 2, sitting in Birnin Kebbi, by ICPC for alleged misapplication of the sum of 1.1 billion naira belonging to the state. The former governor was accused of conniving with the then Commissioner of Finance, Mohammed Bello Tunga, and the Secretary to the State Government, Alhaji Garba Rabi Ukamba, to defraud the state of the sum of 349.5 million naira. The fund was meant for the provision of power generators and other logistics for all polling units in Kebbi State for the 2015 general elections. Tunga and Kamba were already facing prosecution by the Commission at the Kebbi State High Court. However, immediately after the commencement of arraignment proceedings of the ex-governor, the court was informed that Tunga, the former Commissioner of Finance, had passed on. Consequently, the prosecution counsel, by the way of oral motion, prayed the court to strike out the late commissioner's name, which was granted. Alhaji Akingari, who was the state governor between 2007 and 2015, was further accused of conspiring with his political associates to misappropriate the sum of 430 million naira, which was released to provide logistic support for security agencies during the 2015 general elections. Two-time Kebbi State Governor was also charged for siphoning 315 million naira, which was approved and disbursed to enable imams and malams organize sensitization and enlightenment programs against religious incitement of supporters for the 2015 general elections in the 21 local government areas of Kebbi State. However, ICPC's investigations revealed that the said amounts were shared among his political allies, as no power generators were purchased, nor was any imam or malang among the beneficiaries of the sensitization money. The former governor was therefore arraigned on a 6-count charge of offences bordering on criminal conspiracy, theft, conferring corrupt advantage on political cronies, and using position for gratification. Charge, ICPC's counsel Elijah Akakoho averred that the defendant's actions were contrary to and punishable under sections 19 and 26 subsection 1c of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. If found guilty, he shall on conviction be liable to a term of 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges preferred against him when they were read out to him. Counsel to the accused person, Asiwaju Adeboyega Awomolo San, through a written application, sought the relief of the court to grant his client bail. Bail was granted to him in the sum of 10 million naira and one shorty in like sum, who must be resident and possess property worth 10 million naira within the jurisdiction of the court, while the matter was adjourned to another date. To the accused person, Asiwaju Adeboyega Awomolo San, through a written application, sought the relief of the court to grant his client bail. The suspended Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission (SEC), Dr. Monir Haliru Gorzo, was arraigned in court over an allegation of misappropriating 115.8 million naira. Mr. Gorzo and a commissioner in SEC, Mr. Zakawano Garuba, are both facing a 5-count charge before Justice Hassan Yusuf Baba of High Court 4 of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Gorzo was accused of paying himself 115.8 million naira as severance package and car allowance in 2015, while still in the service of SEC, while Garuba is facing allegations of approving 10.9 million naira for the car allowance. ICPC's counsel, Henry O. Imori, informed the court that their actions were contrary to the provisions of Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. The accused entered a not guilty plea when all the charges were read to them. Counsel to the accused, A.U. Mustafa and A.A. Malik, pleaded for bail from the court since their client had kept to the conditions of the administrative bail while ICPC had given them. Justice Baba, in his ruling, granted the accused bail in the sum of 25 million naira each, with a surety not below the rank of a deputy director in the Federal Public Service, resident in and has landed property in the FCT. He also ordered that the documents of the properties of the sureties and the international passports of the accused persons should be submitted to the court. In another development, the Commission arraigned a former Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, Mr. Bature Umar Masari for receiving bribes of 119.8 million naira from several contractors handling constituency projects for himself and 4 federal legislators. Masari, who was arraigned before Justice Adebola Adeniyi of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, was accused of committing the offense between April 2014 and July 2015, when he asked and received bribes on many occasions from the contractors through his Diamond Bank and Guarantee Trust account. ICPC, in a 27-count charge, accused Masari of conferring corrupt advantage upon himself, as well as receiving gratification in the course of discharging his official duties, contrary to Section 10, subsection A1, and punishable under Section 10A2 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. His offence further violates Section 19 of the same law and punishable under the same section. Counsel to ICPC, Mr. Henry Imore, told the court that the ex-DG received 50 million naira on the 27th of November 2014 from Hamshakim Ventures Limited for Herman Hembe, Emmanuel Udende, Benjamin Aboho, and Oko Jeff, who were all members of the House of Representatives from Benue State, and a contractor, Kike Engineering Services, before awarding a constituency project contract to the said Hamshakin Ventures. The court was also told that Masari received different bribes ranging from 800,000 naira to 20 million naira from 12 contractors. The accused pleaded not guilty to the charge. His counsel, Mahmoud Magaji-san, asked the court to grant him bail on liberal terms, promising that the accused would always be available in court for trial. Justice Adeniyi, following no objection from ICPC, granted him bail in the sum of 50 million naira with 2 shorties in like sum who must be directors in the employment of either the Federal Civil Service or any federal agency or the Federal Capital Territory or any of its agencies.
We join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
One hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
In a similar vein, ICPC arraigned a former executive director of ASO Savings and Loans PLC, Memuna Aliyu, for allegedly defrauding the bank of 57 million naira. The commission, in a 3-count charge before Honorable Justice M.A. Nasir of Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court number 16 sitting in Jabi, Abuja, alleged that Memuna used her position as the executive director of ASO Savings and Loans PLC to confer corrupt advantage upon herself when she received the sum of 57 million naira, being the proceeds of the sale of 3 plots of land in Jahi District, Abuja, and failed to remit the same amount to ASO Savings. She also allegedly made false statement to officers of the commission, thereby contravening the provisions of sections 19 and 25 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 and punishable under the same sections. The accused is also facing a charge of criminal breach of trust when she allegedly diverted the sum of 57 million naira to personal use, an offence that is contrary to Section 311 and punishable under Section 312 of the Penal Code. Memuna pleaded not guilty to all the charges, and her counsel, Mr. Joe Gazama-san, in his bail application, requested the court to grant his client bail on self-recognition and also on the basis that she is a first offender. Honorable Justice M.A. Nasir, in her ruling, granted the accused bail in the sum of 10 million naira and 2 shorties in like sum, who must be resident within the jurisdiction of the court.
Well, the purpose of an arraignment is to enable the court to take cognizance of the charge against a defendant. By cognizance, we mean that it brings the matter formally before the judge. It also gives the defendant an opportunity to plead to the charges. That is to say, he will formally also let the court know his reaction to those charges, whether he's guilty or is not guilty. Now, once this is done, the accused person will now have to apply for bail, and that's what will enable the court to determine whether he should be allowed to come for the trial from the comfort of his home or office, or if he will be remanded in prison custody pending the trial. Now, there are so many considerations to determine this. Once that business is done and the court decides to grant bail or to refuse bail, the matter will now be set down for hearing. In the course of hearing, the prosecution will have the responsibility of bringing their witnesses and all the evidence that they have to prove the charge against the defendant beyond reasonable doubt. Under the Admission of Criminal Justice Act, the hearing is allowed to proceed from day to day if the business of the court so permits. And the purpose of this is to ensure that the process of trial is made more expeditious, so that everybody gets an opportunity to be heard in good time. The duty of the prosecution in that respect is to ensure that the witnesses are properly prepared for trial. They make themselves available on time to be in court, and all the exhibits that are intended to be tendered or relied upon for the purpose of the trial in a good and acceptable form for the purpose of their being admitted in evidence. Once that is done, the accused person will now have to put in his own defense. At the end of that process, the court will determine whether or not he's been found guilty or innocent of the charges against him.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
We join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want you.
Come on, hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
So, now, straight to business. Now, that case between State versus Femi Wole.
Femi Wole?
Yes.
Is he your son?
That's my parent.
Did he actually kill the wife?
His juvenile delinquency, they must have taken some few bottles.
A man of 40. Juvenile delinquent?
Now, what do we do? I don't want him to go to jail.
We are very good friends. But for this, I cannot help you.
You know I was so nice to you in school. I took care of you.
I'll politely leave.
No, you can't leave. How much do you want me to pay?
Wale, this is not about money. It's about the law. Bribing a judge to subvert the cause of justice is corruption. Not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
By arraigning suspects before the courts, ICPC is simply adhering to the provisions of its guiding legislation in line with the rule of law. It is the duty of the courts to determine if the suspects are guilty or not and to mete out the appropriate punishments. The Commission can only expect that at the conclusion of the cases cited above, the accused persons will be found guilty and punished accordingly, as this will deter other public officers by putting them on notice of corrupt violations and their attendant risks. That's our package on this week's edition. You can watch the program on our YouTube channel www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. See you again next week. Bye for now.